Welcome back, boxing fans. So, this past weekend, we had a huge card in the UK. Not really the kind of card that would really grab the American boxing fans' attention, specifically because they tend to be a little American centric in their boxing following. But anybody that's a real boxing fan, a hardcore fan, saw that card, saw the quality of the card, the depth of the card, and thought this is a good card, solid, right? And you could see it's part of the whole Saudi Arabian thing, obviously funded by Turkey Al Sheikh. So it was no surprise the card was pretty deep with a lot of good fights, two upsets on it. So obviously very good matchmaking as well. As far as the main event, there was historical legacy with this fight. Obviously, Benn and Eubank's fathers fought twice back in the day, like 35 years ago, when I was still a young chap in my 20s. And those fights were historical UK fights, obviously at 160 and 168 pounds. The fight between the younger versions obviously was going to happen earlier, but because of failed drug test, the fight sort of fell off, primarily because of that, but not only because of that, but that was primarily the reason why it fell off. Obviously, it took a while for all of that to clear up so we could get to where we are today, which was obviously that fight. And you know, the UK was really behind this fight because of the story behind it. And that's the thing a lot of boxing fans fail to really realize about the sport of boxing. It's the story. Whether you like Jim Lampley or not, what Jim Lampley was great at doing when he was part of HBO Boxing was building up a story. If you think back to any of the old announcers in sports, right, whether football, baseball, basketball, whatever it may have been, if you're from Europe, then obviously soccer or football as it's known over in Europe, the best announcers built up the story so that the fans could really get attached to it, buy into it, and you know, be carried along with the story as it was building and playing out in front of you, right? That's how great commentators are. They lay out a few storylines at the beginning, and then depending on the direction of the event, that's the storyline they play off and continuously building off of it to get more drama and more intrigue as the fight or the event plays out, right? And that's what Lampley was very good at. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that now do sports have lost a lot of that storytelling, and that's what it comes down to. That element of storytelling that is no longer part of sports like it once was, and that's why people are so much more prone just to watch clips or highlights, where it doesn't really matter so much. You just want to get everything into a very small, digestible piece as opposed to investing time. And that's unfortunate, but that's really the world we live in today, where people don't read anymore, where they don't watch series. You know, they're much more interested in just quick, short brain stimulus. And unfortunately, this is also translated to sports. But this whole fight, you know, what made this interesting was because of the storyline, right? As far as the fight itself, you have a career 147-pound fighter going up two weights to challenge a guy who's really a career 160-pound fighter. He's had a few fights at 168, but primarily the majority of Eubank's fights have been at middleweight. So there was always that two-weight jump up with these two fighters. But yet, on the same stand saying that, you know, they're not that much bigger or smaller than their fathers when you watch them beside their dads. Benn looked smaller than his son, actually. Obviously, he's now an older fellow and not a pro athlete anymore, but height-wise and everything else, Benn is not that small. He's pretty wide, but he's pretty thin through his legs, and that's really where he loses his weight. Whereas Eubank is a little taller and sort of carries his weight a little more well distributed throughout his body frame. And Eubank was also taller than Benn's father, so you know, there's no surprise with the discrepancy there in height and reach between the two fighters back in the old days and obviously today. But the storyline was interesting. Obviously, people were intrigued by it. It was interesting to see how this version of Eubank was going to look. There was a rehydration clause, which obviously some people were really against. We see how Eddie Hearn is really sort of hoping to get Eubank down even smaller in weight in the rematch because he feels it's very unfortunate for his fighter because obviously he's giving up a lot of size advantage to Eubank. But what this is all about is money, right? They're using the storyline, the historical content for this fight to rope in the consumers so that the boxers and the promoters can make money because they know this is a kind of fight that's going to make everybody money. And that's what it did. The first fight, obviously in Tottenham, a new stadium, was sold out, had great numbers. Obviously the fight ended up being a very good fight. Some people say the best fight in English boxing history. I don't think that's true, but you know, people are always sort of prisoners of the moment. And that's what I feel the next few days after the fight. Most of the people are really responding to that prisoner of the moment type of situation. People are even saying this is fight of the year, and probably it's going to win because it's the fight that has the most backing behind it, the most money, and the most attention. But this is far from the best fight of 2025. The best fight easily was Ken Shiro versus Akui for their 112-pound unification fight. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on YouTube. That fight is an all-out death match, where during that fight, you don't even know who's going to win. It looks like Kui is going to end up toppling the pound-for-pound fighter and do something historic to his career, only for things to change at the end of the fight and go the opposite direction. It's truly a great dramatical fight with a great storyline that plays out right in front of you. And obviously a far better fight than the Eubank Benn fight. But obviously doesn't have the ingrained storyline behind it, outside of the fact that you have two Japanese fighters, where obviously there's that demographic. But if you're not someone who follows Japanese boxing, maybe that's not going to intrigue you nearly as much. As far as the fight, I watched it. It was a good fight. But, you know, it's ironic because my friend is English and one of his friends does camera work and stuff for sporting events in the UK. And he sent me a picture of his friend taking a selfie with Benn before their fight and talking about how people are really stoked in the UK over it. And obviously his friend was there reporting on it and doing whatever he does through the media. And he was asking me who did I think was going to win. And if you watch my channel, you saw my prediction. I felt that Eubank was obviously the far better boxer and would easily win the fight. And I predicted that he was going to stop Benn late in the fight. The fight never played out that way, but I do feel it was an easy fight to judge. I felt that Benn was lucky if he won 4 rounds. Probably more like 3, but you give him 4 because, you know, we want to be generous and not feel like we're trying to rob the guy. So on my card, it was 8-4 for Eubank, which is a easy victory. Competitive, no less. Obviously a fight that had lots of big moments. Both guys were landing big shots. But you don't win a round by being competitive. You don't win a fight by being competitive. You win a round by doing more in the round and winning the round. You win more rounds, you win the fight. Intrinsically, that's how simple it is to judge these fights. But it was funny because my friend ended up just sending me a message today going, whoa, it's big controversy. I mean, it seems like everyone felt that Benn won the fight. And I'm like, of course. But the majority of these so-called people that are thinking Benn won probably are people who supported Benn's father, or they're people from a certain area of England where Benn lives as opposed to where Eubank is from, right? Or maybe they have a very negative attitude towards Eubank and his father, right? There's always more to it than meets the eye. Me being from Canada, not caring who won one way or the other, basing everything just on the simple things that you judge boxing on. Skills, right? Chris Eubank has always been a more skilled fighter than Conor Benn. Conor Benn was a fighter who started very late. He's very rudimentary in his skill set. He was a guy that, you know, struggled early in his career and arguably lost to a French fighter who was just better than him and outskilled him, and people feel did better than him in both of their matchups, right? This Benn has never been in with really elite level competition. And more than that, he's also a guy that got caught using PEDs. And I do believe that the majority of boxers, especially elite fighters, are on the juice. So I have no doubt he was on the juice. Hence the reason why at 147 his power was so dominant. But now, of course, at 160, his power has not been that crippling. Even just his last fights since getting caught on PEDs, he hasn't knocked out anyone. So it really sort of asks the questions, right? Was his power all based on using PEDs, or did he actually have some legitimate power and it just not showing because of inactivity or rust or whatever the situation may be? You feel free to answer in the comment section below on your thoughts regarding this. For me, it's irrelevant because I always felt that Eubank was more skilled. He showed more skills in this fight. He also showed more ability to adjust in the fight. He was able to outbox Benn on the outside behind his jab and counter punch him. He was also able to push him back with his physicality and then just outwork him against the ropes, limiting Benn's ability to throw big hooks because he didn't have room to do it. And that's how easy it was for Eubank to win the fight. I mean, if Eubank came back and was able to rehydrate as normal, I felt super confident that he would score the knockout. Actually, when I made my prediction, I was not even aware that there was a rehydration clause. If I was, I probably would have decided on a unanimous decision victory. But let me know what you thought with regards to the fight. Did you think Benn won, or did you think Eubank won? And what was your score? As I say, I mean, I felt it was pretty easy to score. When you look at the AI judging, I felt that the AI judging had it perfect. I agreed with them completely. But obviously, you're always going to have different people with different agendas, pushing a different sort of train of thought. It's ironic because I was listening to the fight with, what's his face? Who's the guy? Big YouTuber, bald-headed guy, big, strong, thick dude from Newcastle. His name escapes me, but I was listening to it through him, and just listening to him talk about the fight, oh my God, it really shows you how much commentators can impact and affect the way people watch events, because he was acting as if it's the best fight he's ever saw. The things he was saying just made me think, geez, man, this fight is going to be like fantastic. And then, of course, when I sat down and watched it, I was like, I know he's not a big boxing guy, not as much as myself, even though obviously he is working with Turki Al-Sheikh and DAZN, so congratulations to him on that. But as far as boxing breakdowns, he's pretty fucking casual, and I think that showed in his overly excited sort of breakdown of the fight. When all is said and done, I mean, I'm not surprised there's going to be a rematch, because the same reason they did the first one is the reason why they're going to do the second one. There's big money to be made, right? The fact that the fight did deliver, it wasn't a stinker. Eubank didn't dominate and embarrass Benn to the point where a rematch wouldn't have been interesting. It's a fight where now, with this controversy, a rematch is going to do even better, right? And even in the US, because obviously on DAZN this was a pay-per-view, not a very expensive pay-per-view, but nonetheless still a pay-per-view. And with the time and the UK heavy card, I didn't think really the American boxing public was going to support it and really generate too much money. But with the success of this first fight, I do think that the next fight is going to obviously do far better in the US market as well. Americans are going to be that much more interested in seeing the rematch just based on everything they hear and the hype behind it. And to be fair, I mean, I'm not against guys getting paid. If they can generate money and get career high paydays just thanks to their father's names, then, it's the same way I supported Ali's daughter and Frazier's daughter when they ended up fighting. Frazier's daughter should never have been in the ring with Ali's daughter, but because of their father's names, they made the fight because they felt it would, be something that boxing fans would buy into. And so I understand the marketability, the story behind it. And a lot of times, that's the thing, the story behind it. They can make money thanks to the story behind it, so I have no problem with that. As far as the fight itself, it was good. It was entertaining. I thought it was a good fight. But the things that I knew about Eubank haven't changed, and the things I knew about Benn definitely haven't changed. I expect that in the rematch, Eubank is probably going to win even more conclusively. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Peace out, everyone.